Hi everyone, how are you all doing today? My name is Dominic and I'm a part of the Cal Poly Pomona BANSHEE UAV and ROBOTIS Labeling Robot Collaboration Project. This project, sponsored by ROBOTIS, has the robotics team of the BANSHEE UAV project to design a robot that can identify packaging labels and boxes and applying the labels to the boxes. Today, I'll be showcasing a general overview of the labeling robot. In later videos, my teammates will be presenting different parts of the project. With this introduction out of the way, let's get started. On the screen, you should see a picture of our labeling robot and its test environment. We have a label placed on top of a yellow box. There is also a brown box that the robot will apply the label to. The pink and white machine is the physical body of the robot known as the robotic arm. At the base of the arm, you will see three black boxes or Dynamixel XM430 motors responsible for moving the arm. A clear tube that runs through the arm is an air pump vacuum that will pick up or drop the label when it is told to. Finally, the QR codes are the squares seen at the corners of the robot's pad and on top of the robotic arm itself. These codes are a part of a system we have that identifies objects which will be explained in later videos. Now that we have talked about how our robot looks, let's talk about how our robot works. On the screen, you will see a menu known as the GUI or Graphical User Interface and two camera views. This menu contains 8 functions used by the robot to adjust the cameras and how it identifies objects. To keep it simple, the first 6 functions affect how the robot sees and identifies objects. The cameras identify an object based on their color. The right side camera view, known as the mask, shows that the only color it detects is brown, which is the box. The left side camera view, or the frame, defines the contour or shape of the object that was identified. You can see that the camera has a rough understanding of how the box is shaped because of the green outline around the box. Now that the robot knows the shape and location of the box, we can start the next step of bringing the label to the box. To do this process, a person must first click on the function known as Send Test Packet. When that button is clicked, the robotic arm will move to the label, pick it up with the air pump vacuum, move itself and the label above the box, and await further instructions. The second half of the label application process is controlled by the Home Arm function. When that is clicked, the arm will move down, apply the label to the box, and then return to a rest position. You now know how the labeling robot works. So, now that you know how the robot works, let's talk about how we built the robot and what you can expect to see in later videos. We divided this project into 4 parts: computer vision, logic controller server, motor driver interface, and physical specifications. To make it easier to understand, we compared each part to a human. The first part is the computer vision or the robot's eyes. When we were seeing how the robot works, you can see what the computer vision does. Just like your eyes, this system will see objects, recognize them, and tell the brain where those objects are located. In the showcase, the computer vision or the eyes uses the cameras to see the box. We use the mask to tell the robot to see only the box and the frame to figure out the location and shape of the box. The computer vision will then calculate how far the robotic arm is from the center of the box. This data is known as a differential and is found at the set of coordinates in the XYZ plane. When this information is calculated, the computer vision will send the information to the brain of the robot. The brain, or the logic controller server, uses this information to figure out how to bring the label to the box in the safest way possible. For example, let's say you wanted some food in the kitchen. When you move to the kitchen, you don't think about moving it to a wall because that would hurt. You will think about how to move to the kitchen without hurting yourself. The server will work in the same way. It will calculate how far the robotic arm needs to move to bring the label to the box without hurting itself in polar coordinates, and send those numbers to the muscles of the robot. The muscles, or the motor driver interface, is the part that will physically move the robotic arm. Thinking about the kitchen example again, you won't reach the kitchen unless you tell your body to move to the kitchen. When you do that, your muscles will move your body through the path that your brain sent until you make it to the end. With the motors, they will physically spin. Since they are connected to the robotic arm, this will cause the arm to move in a direction. These directions can be forward, backward, up, down, left, or right. When the motors are done moving, they will tell the server or brain how far they have moved based in polar coordinates. The motors will then wait until the server tells it to move somewhere else. The last part about this project is the physical specifications, or the body of the robot. The robot has 3 body parts: robotic arm, air pump vacuum, and suction cup. You've seen all these parts when we looked at the design for how the robot works. We have talked about the robotic arm and the pump vacuum, but the suction cup is actually the little end that connects to the air pump vacuum, which will actually pick up the label and apply it to the package. Now that we know how the project is broken down, let's look at this chart here. This section here is just a visual summary of what I talked about on the last slide. This whole process starts with the computer vision, or the eyes. The eyes will send information called differentials to the logic controller server, or the brain. The brain will create instructions for the motor driver interface, or muscles, on how far it needs to move. The muscles will move to where it needs to go and tell the brain where it is at. This process will have the robotic arm pick up the label and then drop it off at the package. One last image we'd like to show for today's video is a successful test of our robot bringing the label to the package. If you liked what you saw today, please be sure to leave a like on the video. If you have some questions that you would like answered, please feel free to leave a comment on the video or email us at labelingrobotproject@gmail.com. All the files for this project can be found on the GitHub page. The GitHub page will also have a public version release. This release will contain all the files that you need to download to try to simulate this project for yourself. Thank you for taking the time to watch this video, and be sure to watch all our other videos on our channel to learn more in depth about the robot.